Hey guys, the clip you're about to watch was filmed by one of our tutors here at TBT, so I hope it helps you enjoy.
Now let's draw a mind map with the three biomolecules that we learned in our syllabus. Okay, we will begin with carbohydrates. Okay, now if we break this word up into two, carbo and hydrates, okay, what does the word hydrate suggest? Okay, you would think of water, right? So with that, what does that suggest about the ratio of carbon and water in carbohydrates? Okay, it is true that the ratio of carbon to hydrogen to oxygen in all carbohydrates are in the ratio of 1:2:1. Okay, if you don't believe me, let's take an example of glucose. Okay, so can you remember what is the chemical formula for glucose? It is actually C6H12O6. Alright, and if you break it down, you will see that it is true. There are 6 carbon and 6 water, okay? To give your 12H and 6O, right? Okay, so within our carbohydrates, they can be broken down into 3 subcategories. Okay, let's begin with the first, which is our simple sugars. Okay, and over here, I will draw a hexagon, okay, because all of our carbohydrates are in this shape. Okay, what are the two very important simple sugars that we need to know in our syllabus? Okay, the very obvious one is, of course, glucose. And the second one that we need to know is fructose. Okay, moving on, we also have the double sugars. Okay, and this is when there are two units joined together. Okay, so we will draw it like that. Now, what are the two very important double sugars that we need to know for this syllabus? And it is maltose and sucrose. Okay, now let's look at how maltose and sucrose are formed. Okay, what are their ingredients? Okay, so it is very simple actually. So in your syllabus, it's quite straightforward. Maltose is basically 2 glucose units, and sucrose is 1 glucose unit plus 1 fructose unit. Okay, so for maltose, it's quite easy to remember because you learn in nutrition in humans that we eat starch. It is first broken down into maltose before it is broken down into glucose, correct? Okay, now what about sucrose? Okay, you can just think about it. Where do we find fructose? It is found in fruits, right? Where do we find in sucrose? Where have we learned this term before? Okay, we learned it in transport in plants, right? It is transported in the phloem in plants. So sucrose is from glucose and fructose. Now, lastly, we have the complex carbohydrates. Okay, and there are 3 very important complex carbohydrates that we need to know in our syllabus. Okay, what are these 3? Number 1, we have cellulose, we have starch, and lastly, we have glycogen. Okay, and all 3 of our complex carbohydrates are made from glucose. Okay, what are the functions of these 3 very important complex carbohydrates? Let's talk about cellulose first. Okay, we find this in plants and it is actually for structural support. Okay, for starch and glycogen, they have the same function and it is energy storage. Okay, and like what I mentioned just now, cellulose and starch, we find it in plants. Glycogen, we find it in animals. Okay, so animals like humans, we do not store starch or it's not found in humans. Okay, we eat it and then we break it down into glucose and then we store it as glycogen. Now let's move on to the second biomolecule that we are going to talk about, and it is fats. Okay, so we mentioned in our carbohydrates that the ratio of C is to H is to O is 1:2:1. Okay, for fats it is quite similar. We have C, we have H, and very little oxygen. Okay, so what are the constituents of fats? How are fats made, right? We have this thing plus 3 of these squiggly things, and then it will form, okay, it's a fat molecule, but we can be more specific, okay? So 1 glycerol plus 3 fatty acids, okay, it gives us triglyceride. Okay, now let's move on to the functions of fats. So what are some functions that you can think of that fats serve for us? I think the one that everyone will think of first is the most obvious, thermal insulation, right? Okay, so for this, you can just think of seals, whales, all the sea animals. They are usually covered in a very thick layer of fat, right? When they swim in the ocean, it is very, very cold. Okay, you can just imagine when you go into the swimming pool, when you first jump in, it feels very cold, right? Like, so for them, it's like that, but every single day. Okay, so they need this very thick blanket to keep them warm while they are swimming out in the ocean. Okay, next we have long-term energy storage. Okay, another one we have is to protect our vital organs. Okay, so for those of you that have handled a heart, during your bio labs in school, you will realize that it is a very fatty organ, okay? And that is because the thick layer of fat to protect your vital organ, which is your heart, right? Okay, moving on, we also have secreted as oil above the skin, and this is to decrease water loss. Okay, and where have we seen this concept? We also have seen this concept in the transpiration in plants. Okay, in the transpiration in plants experiment, usually we will put a layer of oil on top of the beaker of water, right? This is so that all the water loss will be only due to transpiration, okay? And it will not be due to the evaporation of water. So this layer of oil prevents the evaporation of water, okay? And it is very similar in humans, okay? Now, next, it also forms cell membranes, okay? And lastly, fats also serve as a solvent for fat-soluble vitamins. Okay, and what exactly does this mean? Right, okay, so when we eat food, when we drink stuff, okay, all these nutrients, all that, it will be absorbed into our bloodstream, right? And our bloodstream is mainly made of water. Okay, so all of the things that we eat that can be absorbed right into the bloodstream, they are soluble in water. Okay, but for some reason, there are some vitamins that are only soluble in fat. Okay, so they can't just be absorbed into our bloodstream because water and oil, they don't mix, right? So what these vitamins need is they have to be dissolved in fat first before they can be absorbed into our body. Okay, so let's try to understand this concept with a cute little analogy. Okay, so some of you guys may have pets at home, so maybe dogs or cats. Okay, so sometimes your pet might get sick, you send them to the doctor will tell you, okay, they need to eat these medicines in order to get better, right? But if I just put the medicine on my hand, okay, just the few pills or whatever on my hand, and I feed it to a dog, will the dog eat it? No, right? Because it's like, ew, I don't want to eat it, right? So in order to give them what they need, I will have to wrap it in something very nice, something that they want. Okay, so I will take the medicine, I will wrap it in some ham. Okay, I wrap it in the ham, I put it on my palm, and then the dog looks at it and he's like, wow, so yummy, I'm gonna eat it. Nom 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 nom. And then they eat the medicine together with the ham. Right? So you can break it up into these three components, which is the medicine, the ham, and the poor dog that got baited, right? And we can extrapolate it. Okay, the medicine is the vitamins, the fat-soluble vitamins. Okay, the ham is our fats. Okay, and the dog is our small intestine. Okay, and this can be applied to many, many different things. Okay, you have to give people what they want in order to give them what they need, because most of the time people don't actually want what they need. Right, so same thing that I'm doing right now. I'm giving you what you want, providing all of these free crash courses, very easy digestible clips, in order to, hopefully you'll be able to learn and get what you need by joining our tuition.
Hey guys, today's sponsor of the video is me. As of making this video, ThatBioTutor is Singapore's only O-level pure bio specialist. You mean you don't teach any other subjects or syllabus? Yup. That's how we've been able to make so much resources just for your syllabus. Example, concise notes without all the extra fluff. Commonly asked questions that come out under every topic, so you know the exact keywords and phrases to score full marks. Didn't pay attention in class? Crash course clips to the rescue. We've recorded explanations for every concept under every chapter. Find bio a chore to memorize, flashcards on your phone, which makes it feel like a game. So if you need help with O-level pure bio, what are you waiting for? Click the link below this video or go to ThatBioTutor.com. Now back to the video.
Okay, now let's move on to the last biomolecule that we are going through today, which is the proteins. Okay, and proteins are made from folded this thing, okay, if you remember the name, and one of this, we call them, if you remember, this is the polypeptide. So proteins are made from folded polypeptides, and each unit of a polypeptide is known as an amino acid. Okay, and proteins, what are the constituent elements? We have carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, and sometimes we have sulfur as well. Okay, what are the functions of protein? Okay, proteins are everywhere. Okay, they are in our enzymes. Okay, they make up our hormones. Okay, when we get sick, our body will produce antibodies, and these are proteins as well. Okay, let's say I want to go to the gym, I want to build more muscle. Okay, our muscle fibers, they are made of protein as well. Okay, so this is why, when you're just starting the gym, when you want to gain weight, build a lot of muscle, people always say eat more protein, right? And one last function, proteins also make up other cellular components. Okay, and with this, we are done with our biomolecules mind map.
Hey guys, if that was helpful for you, then subscribe to our channel. If you'd like to join our O-level pure bio tuition classes, click the link below or go to ThatBioTutor.com.